Hi everybody, my name is Shey States. I currently work at Salon 1007 in Hays, Kansas. I graduated Hair Academy in 2015, so I've been working for about 2 years now. I just want to tell you a little bit about kind of the struggles and things that I had getting into hair school, during hair school, and even after hair school. When I decided I wanted to go to hair school, I was kind of in a rough place in my life. I was drinking a lot, partying, abusing drugs. I had a job that I didn't really love, but I had this like dying need to make my parents happy, and I didn't think then just being a cosmetologist was going to cut it for them. I lived at the time with my now husband, his sister Raven, and their friends Jordan and Austin. And Raven was actually in hair school before I ever decided to go, and I would just see how excited she was to tell me about the things that she had learned, the things that she was doing, and it just all seemed really fun to me. So I kind of tossed the idea around in my head, like, maybe I should go, maybe I shouldn't, and I don't know, I was jumbling around for a couple of months, and in between there, I kind of hit this rough patch where I decided that it just wasn't worth it, the stress wasn't worth it, and I just needed to stay where I was at to make my parents happy. My grandparents actually raised me, and they took me in when I was about 2 years old. Their kids never really did anything with their lives. They raised me to believe that I was better than that, and I didn't want to disappoint them with just being a hairstylist. It just didn't seem like the right thing to do for them, and I always kind of felt like I had this big target on my back because I was the oldest of all the cousins, and I was supposed to lead by example, and I didn't think going into cosmetology school was really the way to do that. At that time, I didn't think it would make me a lot of money, and I was actually a pharmacy tech, and I was making a really decent amount of money, and, I just didn't think going back to school, spending more money, and doing what I wanted to do was the path that I needed to take. So all this stress kind of built up of me setting an example for my cousins and wanting to please my parents, and the drinking and the pills and all that combined, and Raven actually called the cops on me one night because I had threatened to take a handful of pills and just be done with it. I just couldn't handle the stress anymore. Come to find out, I was bipolar, and which made a lot of sense in a lot of the things that I did. I just didn't know that I had it. So I ended up going to therapy, which helped, but in the back of my mind, I was still like, man, I really want to go to hair school. It just stuck in there. And, but I figured I needed to get my life together first before I made a decision like that. So with the help of Raven and my husband, I actually stopped going to therapy. They gave me the tools that I needed. I stopped taking all the pills that they wanted me to take to control my bipolar and decided to do it on my own. I didn't need the pills. I didn't want to end up like my mom, who she didn't know she was bipolar and ended up an alcoholic and never really did anything with her life. And so yeah, I just kind of got my head out of my butt and said, it's time to be a grown-up, I guess. And after I did that is when I decided to actually go to hair school. During the time that they had called the cops on me, they actually sent me to the High Plains Mental Health Facility. That night, I was wheeled away in a cop car. It was all really dramatic and really kind of put things in perspective for me, and they actually made me call my parents and tell them what was going on, and it just all poured out, everything poured out, and come to find out, they didn't care what I did as long as I was happy. So I think partly the bipolar and everything else was adding all this stress on me. And it was kind of like a made up thing in my head. Like, I had this dying need to please my parents, and it was completely irrational. Like, it didn't make any sense looking back on it. And after talking to them, it made even less sense. And I finally was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. So I toured the school, I enrolled, and so anyways, I ended up going, and school was tough. It was hard, and I was still kind of struggling with my bipolar a little bit during school, still trying to get it under control. And Raven had already graduated and was out making money, and when I went to school, everybody knew, like, oh, that's Raven's brother's fiance. And my bipolar symptoms started kind of, I had to be everything Raven was in school. It was so easy for her because she knew right out the bat that that's what she wanted to do, and she did it. And I always thought, that the instructors were always going to be like, well, she's going to be related to Raven, they're close in the family, she should already know what she's doing because Raven knows what she's doing. And it was just nonsense. But especially when we started getting into the practical things, like the first day of cutting hair, I can remember being so excited and then not getting it. Like, Raven gave me all these pointers and I still couldn't get it right. And I'm the kind of person that when I get anxious or nervous or upset, I try to laugh about it. So I make a lot of jokes, and so I kind of became the class clown with another girl in there. And it was more because I just couldn't put two and two together. I couldn't figure out, why can I not cut this line? Why can I not do this graduation? Like, if Raven can do it, I can do it. With all the pointers that she's giving me, there's no reason that I shouldn't be able to do this. And it all got super frustrating, and I struggled with that all throughout school, even when we started cutting hair with real people. But you're in school, you need to confide in your instructors, you need to ask them questions. It's school, you're supposed to do those things, you're supposed to ask questions. It's a hard thing to go through and try to do it by yourself, because it can become frustrating. Just like any other school, you can get completely frustrated if you don't feel like you know what you're doing. So if something isn't clicking with you right away, then try to look at it as something, try to figure out another way to learn this, because that's what school is for. You need to ask those questions, and everybody says no question is a stupid question, which is kind of true, but school, that's what you're supposed to do. I think making mistakes in hair school is the best thing to do, honestly, because those mistakes are your best teachers, your best lessons in a way. Because if you know what mistakes you're making, you try to counteract that the next time you do it. You know in your head, well, this is what I did last time, so obviously I can't do this again this time. And that's also what your instructors are for, because they really can teach you different ways, and each instructor has their own way of teaching. It's good to build those relationships with those instructors also, because they'll help you once you get out into the real world. Hair school was probably one of the best decisions of my life, I think. I'm completely happy where I'm at. I'm in a dream job. And I can make upwards of $200 a day doing what I do, which is a lot more even than having a 2-year degree and being a pharmacy technician and started at $16 an hour. So it can be frustrating. It's okay to cry. It happens. But you have to push through it. You have to realize that you can do this. It's okay. This is what I'm here for. You have to be there to say, no, I pushed through. I worked my butt off, and cosmetology school isn't easy, but I did it, and I graduated. I got my license, and now I'm making the money that I'm making because I was given the right tools to do so. So I hope that you got at least a little bit something out of this, and just remember that you're not alone. You can do it, and I mean, you picked the right school.